010.
All right, we are on record today following the filing of a petition requesting removal yesterday, but not necessarily requesting removal ex parte. So there was no ex parte removal granted. And we've made some time this morning for the parents that have appeared to speak with each of their attorneys. The guardian ad litem has had a chance to talk with a few of the children. So we've made some progress, and I'm looking forward to any developments on the record as a result of that. Let's go through appearances first, please.
Carson Howard, lawyer, guardian ad litem.
Ms. Stasia Thomas, counsel for the department. Rachel
Rachel Wazik, CPS investigator for the department.
Can you spell that, please?
Yes, WAWSCZYK. And Rachel is just RACHEL.
Thank you. Let's just stand there.
Katerina Dumont, attorney for respondent father Anthony Barrillo, but I don't believe he's here.
Okay, we have maintained vigilance to see if he's appeared in person or by Zoom, and I have not seen him nor has Mr. Mott.
Michael McFarland representing Ms. Witten, who has not joined us on Zoom, told she has been served.
Same goes as it relates to your client. Ms. Stang?
Alexis Stang, appearing on behalf of the respondent father, Christopher Carter. And then Christopher, can you just unmute and say your name?
Christopher Carter.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ariel Berger here on behalf of Father Mark Kamen. Mark, can you introduce yourself, please?
Mark Kamen.
Right. Okay, Ms. Stang and Ms. Berger, you've had a chance to talk with your clients, is that right?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Okay. Well, before we do that, Ms. Thomas, would you address process service for us so we can establish whether or not each of the parents concerned in this case, there are 4 total, have been notified?
Yes, Your Honor, if Ms. Wazik can be sworn in.
Ms. Wazik, why don't you come out to our witness? Thank you.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
If you could explore also, while you're at it, the search for other cases on Native American heritage as it was completed as well, I would appreciate it, Ms. Thomas.
Okay. Ms. Wazik, can you please state how you are familiar with this matter?
Yes, I am the CPS investigator at DHHS, and I was assigned this case to investigate.
And did you draft the petition that's before the court today?
I did.
Okay. And as it relates to service for the parents that did not show today, well, first let me ask, did you file a proof of service with the court regarding serving this petition and notice of hearing?
Yes, last night around 6 p.m.
Okay.
I did.
And how did you, let me see here. What ways did you serve Mr. Barrillo?
I spoke with him to let him know what was going on, and he provided me, well, during that conversation, he said he was uninterested in participating at all. That he thought that he had relinquished his rights back during their previous foster care case. I told him that he had not, so that he would need to be served. He provided me an email. We clarified the email multiple times that I had the right one. I provided an email to him yesterday around 3 when I received the notice of hearing. I did ask Outlook to show me it was delivered. It did say it was delivered successfully. I then texted his phone number, which is an iPhone. It showed delivered. I explained that I emailed him at that email the information we previously discussed. I told him there was a Zoom ID. I told him it was at 8:30 a.m. and to please let me know he had received it. He did not respond to me. So at 5 p.m. I called him. He forwarded my call after 2 calls. And then at 8 a.m. this morning, I called him again and he forwarded me again to voicemail. Both times I left a voicemail stating what I needed and he did not respond.
And then as it relates to Ms. Witten, can you just briefly summarize the contacts that you've had with her and whether you were able to achieve personal service and whether you have any indication if she will show today?
I saw her at her hotel room at Carlson Lodge yesterday, right after I received the notice of hearing. I provided that to her in person. She looked over it. I told her to ask me any questions. She could text me if she had questions as well. She said that she would be there via Zoom because she had the 2 kids in her care, did not have anybody to watch them. And then this morning, I tried calling her 3 times and her phone goes straight to voicemail every time. So I am under the impression she will not show.
As it relates to the other cases that involve or that these, I'm so sorry, morning brain. As it relates to other court cases involving members of this family, what efforts were made to identify those?
Okay, so are you talking about the previous foster care case or their FOC cases?
Both.
Okay, so previously Rebecca did have her children removed from her care in 2021, I believe May of 2021. They were returned to her April of 2023 with supervision from foster care still. And then officially the case closed in July of 2023. There are also a number of front of the court cases, so bear with me, but there is a front of the court case between Rebecca and Donald Atkins, and they have a child together who is Adeline.
Wait,
sorry.
Ms. Bosick, we're on YouTube, so
Yes.
we can just, if you've just confirmed that, let me ask this question. Are all the children born to Miss Witten subject to other custody orders?
Yes, except for the two youngest. There is not an active FOC at this time that I'm aware of. I think they were in the process, but I don't know that it's been filed.
Okay. And those are the two children whose father is Mr. Kamen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then for Native American heritage, your petition indicates that you spoke with the parents and they've all denied it. Did you also have an opportunity to review my SACWIS and determine whether those inquiries have been done in the past?
No.
Okay. Know that you did not review my SACWIS, or you did review and there were no inquiries?
Sorry, I reviewed my SACWIS, but I did not see if there had been inquiries in the past other than my conversations with them.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Your Honor, as it relates to those preliminary matters, I have no further questions for Ms. Bosick.
Thank you. The record should reflect, I do have a copy of the proof of service indicating that Mark Kamen was served by email at 3:08 yesterday. Anthony Barillo was served by email at 3:20. Rebecca Witten was personally served at the Carlton Lodge at 4 p.m. and Christopher Carter was personally served at 5:08 p.m. Yesterday. Is all that accurate and complete, Mr. Wesson, Ms. Wesson?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the attorneys wish to have a copy of this immediately?
No.
No, Your Honor.
No.
Would you be able to secure copies of the orders establishing parentage for the children that are concerned by this jurisdiction, please?
Yes.
Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, and of course, we'll be vigilantly looking for those Native American heritage inquiries.
Yes.
Very good. All right, questions on these preliminary issues, Mr. McFarland?
Did I hear you did not ask the question of my client whether there's Native American heritage? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, they've all been asked. I just didn't look in the history to see if they've been asked previously.
You asked.
Yes.
What did you ask specifically of my client?
If they have any Native American heritage or are part of the tribe.
Did you ask them if they have any Native American heritage, any blood in their family line?
Not specifically blood, no.
Isn't that the test rather than whether they are a tribal member? It's up to the tribe to determine, right? Let me withdraw that. Will you ask my client if there's any Indian blood in her family line?
Yes. Yes.
And you'll also ask the fathers the same?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Okay, Ms. Dumont?
No questions, Your
Let's go to our attorneys online. Ms. Stang, any questions?
No, thank you.
Ms. Berger?
Not at this time, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Howard?
No, Your Honor.
I do have one I forgot to ask. There are two children staying with my client in the hotel. What's your intention with those two children?
If we are granted removal, which is what we asked for, then they would go to their previous foster placement, which both parents have been discussed that with them and they have a relationship with her.
Is that local?
It's in Monroe.
And how would arrangements be made for my client to visit?
The foster care worker would develop an entire case plan regarding that. And then I believe that they are the ones that maintain visitation and work that out.
Understood. Nothing further.
Okay.
Thank you for your testimony. You may return to your seat. All right. All right. Let's see. Let's go to Ms. Berger first. Ms. Berger, were you able to talk with your client about those questions? And do you have anything else that needs to be heard on the issue of potential Native American heritage, legal parentage, or process of service indicating that your client has the petition?
I did confirm all of those things with him, Your Honor. I believe there are numbers 9 through 11 in the petition. And he does agree that he does not have Native American heritage. He does have a copy of the petition that was sent to him virtually. And he is legal father of the youngest two, the twins.
Thank you. He is obviously entitled to have the entire petition read onto the record. Do you know if he wishes to have that right exercised or if he wishes to waive that?
I did not ask that, Your Honor, but I can ask that right now.
All right. How does he wish to proceed with regard to today's hearing?
Your Honor, we would be entering a plea of no contest on the petition. In addition, I believe the agency has agreed to in-home jurisdiction with my client's children. In addition, he is agreeing that if he were to vacate the home, that he would leave his children there with his father.
All right, very well. We'll let you ask him about the petition in a few minutes.
Thank you.
I'm going to go to Ms. Stang next. Anything to add on parentage, Native American heritage, or other cases?
No, other than that I did talk to my client, and he did have his parentage established. There was a case in Monroe County previously. He actually does have an active court order for parenting time, from what I understand, but that has not been being utilized due to the fact that the respondent mother has not allowed him to have that parenting time. And in addition, he's been in and out of incarceration. So that obviously is added to that. But my client does intend to take a plea of no contest and hopefully enter a case service plan so that he can start getting services and with his children again.
And I'm sorry, that cut out. And be what?
And get a case service plan so that he can start exercising parenting time and start benefiting from that case service plan.
Thank you. Do you, what would be the basis for the no contest plea?
There is criminality that is listed, so just to prevent future liability.
Future liability? It's just cutting out every once in a while, so I'm just making sure I understand what you're saying.
Yes, future potential civil liability.
All right, which paragraphs, just 7 and 8?
His paragraphs start at 34. So it would be from 37 down that the criminality existed.
Okay. Do you know, have you spoken to him about whether or not he wishes to have the petition read onto the record?
I have not, but I know that he has already had a chance to review it, so I believe that he wishes for it to be read on the record. I believe he would waive that right.
All right. Looks like we've had another cell phone join us, so I'm just going to check in with that person to make sure that's not one of our missing parents.
That should be Rebecca.
Thank you, Mr. Kamen. Good morning, this is Judge Sala, who's joining us from the Motorola Moto G Play 2024. If you could unmute and introduce yourself, please.
Hello, this is Rebecca Witten, mother of the children.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Witten. We have an attorney here for you, Mr. Michael McFarland. Would you like a chance to talk with him about today's proceedings?
Yes, please.
Okay, Mr. McFarland, if I could ask you to step out.
Yes, I will. If I may cut through and go back to the jury room.
Sure. I'll set you up for the breakout room. So, okay, Ms. Witten, you're going to get an invitation to join a breakout room. And then once Mr. McFarland joins the meeting, he'll join you in that breakout room.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You should have that invitation now.
Oh, it went away.
Okay, check the controls on the bottom of your phone to see if you are able to join the breakout room.
No.
All right. So I'm going to extend another invitation to you now.
Okay.
All right, very good. In the meantime, Deputy Ann, would you please swear in Mr. Christopher Carter and Mr. Mark Kamen? Your voice, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Gentlemen, please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Carter, let's start with you. Your attorney has advised that you do have a copy of the petition. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is accurate.
Very good. And that you wish to enter a plea, a no contest plea today, understanding that that would be no contest based on criminal allegations. Is that what you wish to do?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you have the right to have me read each and every one of these paragraphs onto the record today. Would you like to exercise that right, or do you want to waive it?
I'd like to waive that right.
All right, and you believe you are the legal parent in this case of Lyric and Lila, I'm sorry, L and L Witten?
Yes, correct.
Thank you. All right. Okay, Mr. Kamen, we're gonna go to you next. One moment. We've got Mr. McFarland joining us, and so I'm gonna put him into the room with his clients. Very good. Okay, Mr. Kamen, you believe you are the legal parent of K and P Witten?
It's K and P Kameen, and yes.
Okay, do you, well, what we've got listed on the petition is unfortunately not that. So if you've got copies of their birth certificates, or if we need to track those down, we can certainly do that. I would obviously want to have them known by their appropriate legal names for purposes of our petition. So if I can ask you to make sure that you chase that down or talk with your attorney about that, that would be great, so that we can make sure we have that correct in the future. Are you willing to do that?
Yes, absolutely. They have my last name.
Your Honor, Your Honor, for clarification, their last name is listed as Mr. Kameen's in both JCO4B and in the addendum.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. And is it Cayman?
It's Kameen.
Kameen, thank you. All right. All right, so my understanding is that you would also like to enter a plea, which means that you would be admitting to the allegations in the petition. Is that correct?
I was told I was pleading no contest.
Right. So what that means is you don't have to come out and effectively say that, but that I would essentially take the allegations in the petition as accurate in their entirety. Do you understand that?
Yes, the petition is not accurate.
If we want to, Your Honor, we can go through, there are several things that we can admit and deny, but I have advised my client that we probably shouldn't admit some of the things because they do indicate criminality.
Right. I mean, I'm happy to allow you to talk further with him about what his options are for purposes of a no contest. Obviously, not every paragraph in here applies to him, but as it relates to his responsibilities, I generally don't differentiate between no contest on particular allegations just to try to avoid confusion for the record and for future purposes. Is there a reason, or is that what you're asking me to do? Are you asking me to deviate from that practice, or what is your position?
I can talk with him really quick and then we can reconvene.
All right. I appreciate that. And I do have a breakout room available for you, so I'll give you a chance to do that for you. All right. So assuming these two gentlemen do end up entering pleas, let's go to you, Mr. Howitt. Would you find that that would serve the best interest of the children concerned by those pleas?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. And I understand you have had a chance to talk with some of the children?
Just the oldest child.
Okay. So Mr. Carter, we can proceed as it relates to the plea for your client right now, Ms. Dang, or we can wait for the other parents to get back and do the advice of rights for both at the same time. Do you have a preference?
Whatever the court prefers is fine with us.
What is your position on the request for removal of the children concerned by the petition and your client?
Yes, with regards to the removal, the kids obviously are right now in the care of the respondent mother, and I know that my client is in favor and actually prefers that the children be removed from the respondent mother's care due to his concerns.
All right. When's the last time your client saw his children?
He saw them once right before Christmas of last year, so 2024. But prior to that, it has been really 2 years.
Very good. So generally speaking, he would be offered pretty regular visitation as organized, preferably during a family team meeting following today's hearing. Is that acceptable as it relates to parenting time, if you know?
Yes, that is actually what he is hoping for, since he has not been able to see them regularly.
Ms. Thomas, is that a satisfactory position as far as the department is concerned?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Howard?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very well. Well, let's go ahead and begin the advice of rights then for Mr. Carter. Oh, here comes Ms. Berger. Okay, Ms. Berger, I can ask your client to rejoin us.
Yes, and we are wanting to proceed just on the no contest plea, Your Honor. I've explained that a little bit better to him as well.
Thank you. Okay, welcome back, Mr. Kameen. Did I get it right that time?
Yep.
Okay, so Ms. Berger informed us just before you rejoined us that you are prepared to enter the no contest plea at this point. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so as I stated before, essentially that means that I'm going to accept the allegations in the petition, but for purposes of developing your case services plan, clearly that's going to be something that you have a part in doing. So I'll just say that as well. I'm going to ask you to at least help identify some of the issues that you feel that you need support in as part of today's proceedings, regardless of what is in the petition. Does that help?
Yes.
All right, so Mr. Carter and Mr. Kameen, I'm going to go through your advice of rights at this point. Did I ask both of you if you wanted the petition read onto the record?
Yeah, you didn't ask me, but I don't. I'll waive that right.
Mr. Carter, did you wish to waive that as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for confirming that. If I accept your no contest pleas, you are giving up a trial by judge or a trial by jury. The right to have the petitioner prove the allegations in the petition by a preponderance of the evidence. The right to have witnesses against you appear and testify under oath at trial. The right to cross-examine witnesses, and the right to have the court subpoena any witnesses that you believe could give testimony in your favor. Do you understand you'll be giving up or waiving the rights I've just indicated to you if you agree to enter a no contest plea today? Mr. Kameen?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
With regard to the consequences of your plea, or in other words, what will happen, the court will do the following. There will be continued investigation by the caseworker to see what the problems are in your family and how and whether they can be solved. The court could dismiss the case if there's no need for the court to be involved. If it appears that there's a problem that may be solved, the court can make the children temporary wards of the court, place them with mother or father or with relatives or in a foster home, and order programs for you and your children, such as counseling, drug and alcohol treatment, assessments, and parenting classes. If it appears you will not be able to provide a proper home for the children in the reasonably foreseeable future, the court could terminate your parental rights. In regard to the plea itself, the plea can also later be used as evidence in a proceeding to terminate your parental rights. Do you understand the consequences of your plea, Mr. Kameen?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes, I do.
All right, Mr. Kameen, I'm going to back up just a little bit. I already went through some of these questions with Mr. Carter, but what is your position, or if you want to defer to your attorney on this, your position as it relates to removal of the children that are your responsibility? What, in other words, what do you want to see happen with them today?
I would like my children to stay with me along with Cadence. I just got her in school, and obviously I have drug treatment, mental health. I have an appointment today at 4:00. I mean, I would prefer them to stay in the home with me and my father.
All right, the position of the department, Ms. Thomas.
And I spoke with Ms. Berger on this, and we are agreeable for the in-home jurisdiction. We understand that Mr. Kameen is currently residing with his father. We believe that in-home jurisdiction, with him starting those voluntary services already, with his father present, it would adequately safeguard the children. But we would ask the court to order that if he were to leave the home, that the children would stay there. And so we are in agreement with that.
Mr. Kameen,
Yes.
do you agree with that statement as well?
Yes, I do.
All right, Mr. Howard, do you find that that would serve the best interest of all three children concerned by that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very well. I just wanted to make sure I understood and you understood and we all had it straight what was going to be happening as far as your position. All right, very good. As far as the plea goes, do you have any questions about any of the information that we've talked about so far, Mr. Kameen?
No.
Mr. Carter?
No, I do not.
All right. Okay, are either of you currently under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or anything else that could get in the way of you understanding what you're doing here this morning, Mr. Kameen?
No.
Mr. Carter?
No.
Is anyone making you enter a no contest plea, Mr. Kameen?
No.
Mr. Carter?
No.
Has anyone threatened you in order to get you to enter a no contest plea, Mr. Kameen?
No.
Mr. Carter?
No.
Outside the terms of the plea agreement, which is essentially what we've talked through this morning as it relates to where the children will be and how you're entering the plea, has anyone made any other promises to you or anything to get you to enter the plea?
No.
No.
Thank you, gentlemen. Would you say your decision to enter a no contest plea is one you've made of your own free will, Mr. Kameen?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
All right, very good. As it relates to the no contest plea, the factual basis of that plea, Ms. Thomas, how would you like to approach that?
Your Honor, if the attorneys are agreeable to stipulating to the petition as a factual basis, I would like to proceed that way. However, if we need to take testimony from Ms. Vozick, I can also question her on it.
Your preference, Ms. Berger?
I'll stipulate.
Ms. Dang? I'm sorry.
We stipulate as well.
Mr. Howard, do you find that to be an acceptable way to establish a factual basis?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, very well.
I have no objection, Your Honor. We'll be asking the same in my case. What's that?
What will you be asking?
For no contest and and acceptance of the petition as evidence.
Okay, all right. Let me just get back to you on that in a few minutes. Okay, Ms. Dumont, any objection?
No, no,
Very good. All right. Just for purposes of looking forward on the case services plan, which is the challenges that the court will be asking both of you and the department will be asking, and you'll be asking of yourselves in order to create a good, safe environment for your children. Mr. Kameen, you've already kind of talked a little bit about what areas you'd like to focus on. It looks like areas of substance abuse, drug use, maybe some relationship dynamics and some mental health treatment. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Carter, it seems like you have some challenges around stable housing, transportation, income, the bond with your children and reliable parenting. Is that about right?
Yes.
All right. Well, I am taking notice of the petition and we'll evaluate that as well as we look forward to the case services plan. But I appreciate both of you letting me know that you're on board to work on those issues. Are the attorneys satisfied with the factual basis of the plea and the advice of rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. The court is as well. There's also been a preliminary statement on the position for the request for removal today, which is that Mr. Carter is in support of removal of the children from Ms. Witten, and Mr. Kameen wishes to allow 3 of the children to remain with him and his father, Mr. McFarland, by way of update.
Thank you.
And that seems uncontested by the other attorneys. Does your client have a position other than that?
On the 2 children that are with her, she does not wish to have a removal. I have not addressed the other, but I intend to do that on the record.
All right. Well, so the 3 children that are currently with Mr. Kameen, does she have any objection to them remaining there?
I did not ask her that, Your Honor. I can ask her on the record.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. All right, so gentlemen, the next steps for you will be the initial disposition. So between now and when you come back to court, you'll be sitting down with the department representative or foster care caseworker and putting together the case services plan to target those areas that you need to work on. And that will create the opportunity for the court to review that on a regular basis. Now, obviously, you've heard us talk about what's going to be happening with the children moving forward. So that piece is not yet resolved today, so you're welcome to stay for that. But as it relates to the legal proceedings at this time, you're effectively finished with your active part of today's hearing. So I just wanted to let you know that, unless there's anything else from you, Ms. Berger or Ms. Stang.
Will we be getting notice of that initial disposition date?
Yes, let me give you a date right now. How about Friday, February 28th at 10 a.m.? Does that work?
Your Honor, actually, yes, that works, 10 a.m.
10 a.m. I have 10 or 11. 10, 10:30, 11, whatever works for you.
Any of those work.
Okay, Ms. Berger, does 10 a.m. work for you on the 28th?
It does, Your Honor.
All right. Very good. And obviously, if there's anything else that you want to weigh in on as we go along, I'll trust you to let me know as it relates to the request for removal and the placement of the children. Fair?
Yes, thank you.
Very good. Okay, Mr. McFarland.
I did go over my client's rights with her. She indicates, number one, that she does have dyslexia. She read most of the report before she fell asleep last night. I did go over the highlights with her.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but report or petition?
I'm sorry, the petition.
I just wanted to be clear for that.
Yes, the petition. At this point in time, she wishes to enter a no contest plea based upon possible criminality or allegations of excessive use of force against the child, positive drug screens, prostitution, all issues that could result in criminality, Your Honor. She does wish to have a removal hearing on the two children who are residing with her at Carlton Lodge, as she does have a shelter in Monroe County lined up which will accept children. So we'd like a hearing on that. She does not wish to have the entire petition read today. So that's our position right now. Indian heritage, I asked her, and there's no known Indian blood or heritage in her family lines.
Thank you. Well, I do have a 10 o'clock, so at this point, I'd like to take a brief recess so that I can tackle that and then come back on the record as it relates to your client and the removal hearing. Any objections or time constraints I need to be aware of from our other participants?
No, Your Honor.
We're prepared on the 10.
Good. Okay, thank you. We'll be back with you then in just a few minutes. To Zoom and YouTube on the Witten Miners 25010. Let's see who's left. Okay, Ms. Stang, Ms. Thomas, and Ms. Rebecca Witten and Christopher Carter remain joined online. And of course, we have all of our in-court participants as well that have stayed. Welcome back. Okay, as it relates to the request for removal, Ms. Thomas issued what is effectively a bit of an opening argument on that point. Mr. McFarland, would you like to respond?
I think the best way is just take testimony from my client.
Very good. Any opening comments or position from you, Ms. Dumont?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Howard?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, Ms. Thomas, your first witness, if you would please. Logged in to Zoom and YouTube on the Witten Miners 25010. Let's see who's left. Okay, Ms. Stang, Ms. Thomas, and Ms. Rebecca Witten and Christopher Carter remain joined online. And of course, we have all of our in-court participants as well that have stayed. Welcome back. Okay, as it relates to the request for removal, Ms. Thomas issued what is effectively a bit of an opening argument on that point. Mr. McFarland, would you like to respond?
I think the best way is just take testimony from my client.
Very good. Any opening comments or position from you, Ms. Dumont?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Howard?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, Ms. Thomas, your first witness, if you would please.
Sorry about that, Your Honor.
That's okay. We're ready for your first witness on removal whenever you're ready to call her.
Thank you. Ms. Wasik, please.
Ms. Wasik, come on back up to our witness stand.
Resworn or?
Sure.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you, Ms. Fossick. There you are.
Thank you.
Proceed it will.
Thank you. Ms. Fosdick, you've stated prior that you were the investigator in this matter from CPS, is that correct?
Yes,
And that you drafted the petition?
yes.
And in your opinion, do you believe that the children are at a substantial risk of harm in the care and custody of Ms. Witten?
Yes.
And can you please elaborate what that risk of harm is to them?
The risk of harm to them would be the substance use that is affecting her parenting and decisions. For example, all the children had bruising on them and mom could not say where it came from. They have not had medical care. They did not have a pediatrician that she could tell me. She was not supervising them during my visit. She was essentially nodding out, eyes fluttering, eyes rolling on the back of her head during my initial visit. She has a history where they've been previously removed for the exact same reasons. I have suspicion that there is a lack of food at times, according to the children that I interviewed, and that this has been a historical problem. The oldest child stated that this was continuously going on, essentially not ending from the first case. So that is all the risk of harm that I am seeing. Also, they've not been in school for over a month, which I know we don't really deal with, but that's a concern for me as well.
And when did you start this investigation?
January 23rd.
And since January 23rd, has, I'm just trying to check here. So it's been about 2 weeks, so exactly 2 weeks now. In the last 2 weeks, has there been any services or compliance with a voluntary case service plan or anything on that Ms. Benton has done that would adequately safeguard the children in her care?
We had a safety plan that stated that she would seek mental health and substance abuse treatment from CMH, which she did make a phone call to, but then proceeded to miss all of the appointments the following week. She had agreed to not use illicit substances and to have a sober caretaker, and she broke that multiple times. So essentially, no, she has not followed anything to safeguard the children. Plus, she got into a fight at her shelter and was kicked out without a plan of where to go after that.
To the best of your knowledge, does Ms. Benton have any income?
No.
Earlier, her attorney reported that she had a place to go with the children in Monroe. Do you have any knowledge about that?
I did speak with the father who volunteers at the shelter last night when I served him, and he stated that they are not taking anybody due to COVID at the shelter. I have tried to call the shelter to clarify that today, and I have not gotten in touch with anybody. She has told me that she was going there next week, and then changed that to going there as soon as the hotel ends, and then stated that the hotel is being paid for, but none of that has been communicated to me since yesterday. So I, at this time, do not believe she has somewhere to go that I'm aware of.
When you've observed the children, do they seem cared for?
They do not appear afraid of mom. However, they appear disheveled when I am there, and they are kind of doing their own thing. Like yesterday, for example, when I went to the hotel to serve her, one of them was pulling a corn dog out of the microwave and it was hot, and mom was not paying very close attention. And the second time I visited the children, one of them had blue marker all over their foot and couldn't tell me where it came from. And so there's just some things that kind of allude to the fact that they are not being well paid attention to. So that's what I would say for that.
And in the last 2 weeks, what reasonable efforts have been made to try to prevent this request for removal?
I have drug screened mom 4 times. I have results for 3 of them. I have personally gone and visited her at Catherine Cobb multiple times. I have maintained phone contact with her. I have requested her records to see if she is following through with what I've asked her to do. I've asked her to reschedule. I've reminded her of her appointments the day before. I asked her if she had any needs. I actually talked to her on Monday and asked how things were going, and she had been kicked out at that point and did not tell me. I then found out where she was staying, showed up unannounced, and called the place that was going to extend her stay to ensure that it was paid, because it wasn't at that time. So I've been in contact with this family this whole 2 weeks consistently.
And at this time, do you think that there's any way to maintain the children safely with Miss Witten?
Unfortunately, no, due to her history and that this has continued for so long.
In your the prior removal, I believe you stated was from 2021 to 2023. Do you know if she was serviced with a foster care case service plan?
Yes, so actually she had an open case in 2020 that she had 8 months of no progress in with services, which then led to that removal. And then she had a slew of services over that 18-month period as well that she did complete.
Do you know what those services were aimed at addressing? What issues?
I know that, bear with me, I know off the top of my head, she did an orchards parenting class. I believe substance abuse was addressed. She did the orchards family reunification program. She was being seen at CMH for case management and medication management. She had tried Catholic Charities that I know of for therapy, but was not consistent and was frequently trying to switch that. And I know even before that, she had done Families Together Building Solutions as well prior to the foster care case. So those are the ones that I know off the top of my head for sure. And obviously like drug screening and those types of things too throughout that.
And what is the proposed placement for the two children that are in her care?
Placement for those children would be their previous foster placement that they have a relationship with, who is familiar with them, who is very willing to work with both parents and has communication with both parents. And she's agreed and she's licensed and everything is appropriate there.
Do you believe that in that home, the children would be adequately safeguarded?
Yes.
There may be an argument that, if you've had these concerns for the last 2 weeks during your investigation, why was there not removal prior to today? Can you help the court understand a little more about the rationale there?
Yes. So there's many fathers in this case. And so I had to spend some time to figure out the situations with those fathers. They live in multiple different counties. And I needed to find out if they were appropriate to potentially safeguard the children with them. There's one out of state even. So that took me a little bit of time. I did submit my petition to my supervisors on the 31st. And then from there, we've just had to edit, make sure everyone's been served. And I have stayed in pretty much constant communication with the family to ensure that they're not going to be homeless, that things are being taken care of. I've maintained drug screening. And so that is why it led to this being filed when it was.
And during this pendency, let me ask, was there concern about an unnecessary removal of children from their parents? Particularly the ones with Mr. Kane. Was there a concern about unnecessary removal of the children from Mr. Kameen if he was in a safe environment?
Sorry, hold on. Was there concern that there was unnecessary removal from him?
Regarding why there was not an immediate request for removal from Miss Witten, was there also concern about unnecessarily removing children from Mr. Kameen's care and putting them in foster care?
Yes.
Okay. And as it relates to the oldest child in this sibling group, currently she is staying with Mr. Kameen, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge, does Mr. Kameen have any legal authority to act on her behalf?
Currently, he does have a power of attorney.
Okay. And when did you become aware of that?
I provided it to him when I first became involved so that he could get her in school and have proper care and custody. And that, I believe I sent that to him on the 30th through a text, and I sent it to him on the 31st scanned.
Okay. So he provided it back to you signed?
He has not signed it, but mom has signed it. It's been notarized.
Yep. Okay. So in the petition, when it said that mom permitted the child to leave with Mr. Kameen without any legal authority, when was that? What time frame?
They haven't been able to give me a specific time frame, but it was within a couple of weeks after them getting to the shelter, which was sometime after December 4th. So between December 4th and Christmas, she was at the shelter from my knowledge, and then he picked her up sometime between Christmas and now.
Okay. And as of January 30th, he does have a valid power of attorney.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do you believe that that child would be adequately safeguarded in his care and custody, or are you still requesting the court give placement authority to the department?
If he is working a case service plan and is monitored, and we do the same stipulation of if he leaves the home, the child stays with the grandfather, I would be comfortable with that. But I also would prefer her be with the grandfather.
And if the is given placement authority, is the grandfather the person that we would essentially be placing with, just to confirm?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else that you believe the court should know as relates to the risk of harm to the children if they were to remain in the care and custody of Ms. Witten?
Outside of what is in the petition, no.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Could you just tell me about GW for a moment, because he's listed in
Yes.
the petition, but I haven't heard anything about him today.
So he had parenting time on weekends with mom, but it's not being exercised. And so we added him to the petition for the fact of that parenting time kind of being with her. But he's never used it. And I did ask his father to motion for parenting change, which he's done. That's kind of where we're at with him and why he got added, just due to that one every other weekend parenting. It just hasn't been exercised. So
Does that child need to continue to be under the jurisdiction of the court?
no.
Thank you for your response.
Yeah.
Questions, Ms. Day?
Just one. Was the hotel contacted to verify or confirm if the hotel room has been paid for the next few days, like was asserted?
I have not had a moment to ask that. I did call the hotel room and ask them to extend her leave till 1 p.m. and they agreed to that, but I've had no confirmation that it's been paid for any further days.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
Questions, Mr. McFarland?
You're asking to remove these kids from my client, yet my understanding is your agency paid for the kids to stay with her in the hotel room, am I correct?
No.
Who did pay for her overnight stay?
Catherine Cobb.
Thank you.
Yep.
Nothing further.
Questions, Mr.
No
Hunt?
questions.
Mr. Howitt?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you for your testimony. May I return your seat? Okay, any other witness testimony, Ms. Thomas?
Sorry, Your Honor, having some difficulties there managing Zoom. No, I have no further witnesses.
Mr. McFarland?
Briefly call my client.
Very well. Deputy Ames, if you could swear in. Well, actually, Ms. Witten has been sworn, so thank you. We're all set with that.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. Number one, regarding the kids who are not with you in the hotel right now, are you okay with their placements as indicated in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Okay. About the kids who are with you right now, if the court were to remove them, are you satisfied with them going to the former foster placement, if that happens?
Yes.
Okay, do you have arrangements for housing these two kids right now?
Yes. Miss Peggy, the foster care parent, is willing to pay for my hotel room. I don't know if you want me to have her join in so she could admit and say that she and her significant other are willing to help me with the hotel room or not.
How long are they willing to do that?
I'm not entirely sure. I think she'll do it as long as I need until I can get into the Oaks, because they're not taking anybody because of COVID. Sorry, I dropped my phone.
Have you called them to determine when they might allow you to be there?
Yeah, I called, but she told me I have to call the intake line. So I called the intake line and I left a voicemail. I also called the Salvation Army and left a voicemail on their line. And I got a packet of information from my doctor. Hang on, baby. Hang on. 1 minute. I got information from my doctor about all kinds of shelters for Lenawee County and for all the surrounding counties, including Monroe. So I'm going to be making those phone calls today to try to find somewhere immediately.
Would you be willing to drug test today and every single day if the kids were to remain with you?
Yeah.
Do anything show up in your system right now?
No.
Okay. Anything else that you wish to say as far as placement of these children?
Yes, I just want to say that you know, they don't want to go anywhere. They want to stay with their mother. I want them to stay with me. Nobody's gonna love them the way that I love them. We read books at nighttime. You know, I want to be the one washing their hair at night. I want to be the one helping them. And with the corn dog thing, they like that independence. I wasn't fully paying attention to them because she was in the room and I was talking with her. And the marker thing, you know, kids are going to be kids. They're coloring 1 minute and the next minute she colored on her foot. Like I washed it off.
I think we understand how kids do that.
And with the bruises, I don't think anybody can tell exactly where each bruise came on their kids from. I took them for medical evaluations and they said it's normal pediatric bruises, which means that no physical harm has been done. I don't hit my kids. I've spanked them on their butts and I put them against the wall, make them stand on the wall with their arms down and their nose facing the wall. That is their punishment. I don't slap my kids in the face. I asked my daughter if she remembers saying that, if she said that, and she said, "Mom, I never said that."
Let me ask you about the former foster care worker or placement. Is that here in Adrian?
No, that's in Monroe.
Okay, well, you need some transportation assistance to get there to visit?
I might, but I might be moving to Monroe, so it might be a little bit easier.
Fair enough.
I know Miss Peggy had stated that she wouldn't mind helping me with transportation when it comes to visitation with the kids.
Okay.
I want to be the one that gives them baths at night. Like, these are my babies.
Ms. Witten, please hang on. Ms. Thomas, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Durant?
Ms. Witten, you indicated that you were likely going to be moving into a homeless shelter.
Yeah.
Do you know if that homeless shelter allows children to reside with you there?
Yes. Any shelter that I'm going to be going to is going to take kids. And if I can't get into a homeless shelter that takes kids, then there is inpatient rehab services that you could take kids to, like Clearview and Sacred Heart.
Okay, so you think it's of your opinion you would rather keep the children with you at either a rehab facility or a homeless shelter than agreeing to them being removed to a foster care placement?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, nothing further.
And Ms. Stein, do you have some questions?
Yes. The children were previously placed with Peggy that's been referred to, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And do you believe that they were well taken care of when they were in the care of Peggy?
Yes.
Okay. And then earlier you mentioned that Peggy said she would help with transportation for you to see the kids if you weren't in Monroe. Why would she need to help with the transportation if Peggy was also planning to pay for the hotel room for you and the kids?
That would only be if I was here. She'd be able to help me transport, like help me with the kids for giving me a ride. But if I'm in Monroe, then we can meet in a public place where I'm able to take a bus and get to.
So are you testifying then that Peggy is willing to help pay for a hotel room for you and the kids, or to help with transportation if needed?
Both.
Okay, why would you need transportation to see the kids if Peggy was paying for the kids in the hotel room for you?
Well, I wouldn't, I'm saying if they were removed. If they were removed, she would help with transportation. If
Okay,
they stay with me, I don't need transportation.
okay. I have nothing further. Thank you.
Mr. Hope?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, any redirect?
No, no further witnesses.
Very well, okay, anyone else you'd like us to hear from, Ms. Dang?
No, I didn't call anybody, but I have nobody that I believe needs to be called.
Thank you. Ms. Dumont?
No witnesses.
Mr. Hope?
No, Your Honor.
Very well, closing arguments, Ms. Thomas?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think that relying on the no contest plea and the fact that the petition was stipulated to for the factual basis of that no contest plea, it's very clear that there is a substantial risk of harm to the children's life, physical health, or mental well-being while in the care of Ms. Witten. Even during this 2-week period where CPS has been re-involved, Ms. Witten has not taken any necessary steps or measures to safeguard these children, leaving them unattended to get high, having other residents at Catherine Cobb try to check in on them. The lack of supervision throughout the investigation is prominent. And I want to be clear that the department's filing of this petition was in consideration at the timing of it was also in consideration of the fact that there are multiple children and the Mr. Kameen has 3 of those children, and to do a removal, which we believed we could do without further investigation about potential relative placements, would have been a traumatic thing for these kiddos to have to go through, especially if then it was unnecessary. And so for these 2 children that have remained with Ms. Witten, Ms. Wozniak has done an amazing job of ensuring their safety by having very regular and consistent checkups with them, staying in contact with Ms. Witten and providing that oversight. However, that is not a reasonable way to continue. She is unable to, frankly, I think her credibility is already in question, to come and tell her attorney that she's going to go to a shelter and they take kids and she's going to go there right at 11. And then 10 minutes later, coming back and telling the court, oh, well, someone's going to pay for me to stay at this hotel, I think really calls into question her credibility. And I also wonder if she's not under the influence currently. I believe we all saw on YouTube that it's nearly 11 o'clock in the morning and her child was still not bathed or clothed. I think that there is just an overwhelming amount of proof that these children are really at a risk of harm in her care. I believe that the department has offered several services and they don't have another parent that they can go to. And frankly, their other parent is in support of the removal and has the same concerns about this mother's ability to care for their children. I mean, I think that speaks volumes when you have a birth parent who says, hey, we have a foster placement who can do better for our kids. And that's what's at the forefront. And Ms. Witten's reasons for wanting to keep her kids is she wants to be the one to give them baths. Okay. But we didn't hear about what's in their best interest or how she plans on taking care of them or how she's going to supervise them and how that is good for them. The focus was on her. So, Your Honor, I believe that we have met the criteria for the conditions for removal under MCR 3.965 and also as articulated in the petition. We are asking the court to give placement authority over the oldest child as her respondent father did not show and is not interested in caring for her. And she frankly also does not want to be with her mother and she would prefer to be with her siblings' family. And we are also asking the court to give placement authority to the department for the 2 children that are in her care. Thank you.
Mr. McFarland?
Well, Your Honor, as far as my client's credibility, we did have a break for another case, which would allow my client to reach out to the prior foster parent to call, to check on further places to stay, which I think a responsible parent should do and would do. I don't think that's anything against her credibility. I think that's just the opposite. She's being proactive. I didn't see any naked kids running on here. As we all know, all the schools in Lenawee County are closed today. Imagine a lot of parents are chilling with their kids. And I think that's what we see her at a hotel doing. I don't think that's inappropriate. which the court can judge. But she has a plan of action. I hear that she's agreeable with this foster parent if children are to be taken. But she's also, nobody's testified to the contrary that they've reached out to placement. The placement has told them anything opposite. She did verify that the place that kids are going to go to and mother, that there is a COVID alert. I think that she will get in when that is lifted. Those usually don't last forever, pretty short nowadays. So we're asking that the court keep the children with her in this placement. And she said she'll take a drug test immediately today and I'll test negative. I think the order could be conditioned on if she tests positive, the kids are removed. But she's saying she'll test negative. We can test her every single day. So I think there's protocol and safeguards that can be placed in effect, which are least intrusive to the family. Thank you.
Any comments, Mr. Bond?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Your position, Mr. Howard?
Yes, Your Honor, I believe there's a substantial risk of harm to the children being placed with Ms. Whitten. As for the removal, I'm very concerned with the lack of supervision being provided at Ms. Whitten's care and really her unstable plans for the next few days. I don't think it's stable to say that she's going to have a hotel paid for or find a shelter when it's been difficult for her, and she's already had issues in the shelter here in town with getting kicked out of there. For the three older children, I was able to speak with the oldest. She much prefers to be placed with her grandfather and with Mr. Kameen, who she, even though she's not her biological father, she looks at him like her parent, her dad. So that would be my preference for those three kids. And I believe it's in their best interest to be out of their mother's supervision. As for the three older children, I think it's important that their grandfather is the placement and the department remains in charge of the placement there. I think there are still concerns over Mr. Kameen's history, and I see he's committed to making some changes in his life with his appointment today to receive treatment for substance abuse, but I do think there are some concerns with this history. So I do ask for jurisdiction reign with the department for those three children.
Thank you. The court finds all interested parties were given notice for purposes of today's hearing, and that would include Mr. Anthony Barilaro. He was served with a petition and the notice of hearing for this morning and failed to appear. His child is currently residing with Mr. Mark Kameen and Mr. Kameen's father, along with two other siblings. I do agree with Mr. Howard and the department that placement of those three children with Mr. Kameen and his father for purposes of in-home jurisdiction is appropriate. His plea was entered today acknowledging the challenges that he needs to overcome in order to ensure that he's providing a safe, stable, drug-free environment for his children that allows him to parent in a healthy way as well. So the terms and conditions of placement with Mr. Kameen for those three children are appropriate, and they are also reflected in today's preliminary and adjudication orders entered as it relates to Mr. Kameen. There is a substantial risk of harm associated with allowing the placement of any child, frankly, with Ms. Rebecca Whitten right now. She has acknowledged significant relapse. She finds herself currently with very unstable housing. She did admit that there's food instability that was observed also by the caseworker at this time, acknowledged by the children. And that is compounded also by her inability to transport or secure medical care for any of them, failure to secure any kind of education for them, which would be a way also to provide food. Many schools issue free meals. So there are some things that even under the current circumstances, Ms. Whitten could be potentially providing despite what's been happening with her economically and with regard to housing and income. And I believe that her relapse and acknowledged use of substances is in fact significantly contributing to her inability to parent. We heard some more description of that on a first-hand basis from Ms. Wazik. And I would even say that some of the things that we've observed this morning's court hearing would indicate some substance use interfering with her ability to parent. These two children that are in her care, LCW and LCW, will be placed back into foster care under the supervision of the department as a result of that significant risk of harm that's been established this morning as it relates to them. And they're placed with a family that has taken care of them in the past, has a relationship with the children, and apparently also open communication with Ms. Witten at this time, which can only benefit them moving forward. So the court is taking jurisdiction of those 5 children and placing them as directed, and that will also be reflected in the court's order today. And releasing the initially named child whose initials are GW back into the care and custody of his father, as there does not appear to be a significant risk of harm associated with allowing him to be placed with his father. As to Mr. Kameen, he also acknowledged today some dynamics around his household, including criminality, prior history of that, those dynamics, drug use, inability to support the children, and some of the other things, that untreated mental health issues he's looking forward to tackling, but it's appropriate to issue in a home jurisdiction as it relates to the 3 children placed in his care for all of those reasons, understanding that his father will be there to safeguard the children. If something under those circumstances changes or he violates the court order to remain there with the children under the supervision of his father, then of course I would expect the department to revisit that and bring me a removal petition, frankly, until we've seen some progress from Mr. Kameen on those challenges. We'll have the initial disposition for Rebecca Witten, Mark Kameen, and Christopher Carter on February 28th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Mr. Carter is not currently asking for placement of his child. Her preference has been expressed, as well as wishing to stay with her siblings, and it does look like there's the need to rehabilitate his relationship with his daughter at this time. So he's got his own challenges he's facing on income and housing and some of the other aspects that were also outlined in the petition, and that does also make removal from his care as it relates to his daughter appropriate, even though she's not technically living with him at this time. She was not technically living with either immediate parent, but rather with what would be considered a relative at this time. So she'll just remain where she is under the jurisdiction and authority of the court, supervised by the department.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to be very clear for purposes of orders and funding. The oldest child with the initials KW,
Yes.
her legal father is Anthony Barillo, who did not show today. And so the department does need a formal removal order and placement authority but we do intend to keep her placed in the current home. Mr. Carter's children are the ones with Miss Witten.
Yes, I appreciate that clarification. There are a lot of children in this case. We are clear that Mr. Barilero's child, KW, is currently staying with her siblings, her half-siblings, KK and PK, with Mr. Mark Kameen. But that is the child of Mr. Barilero. So he will be set for adjudication trial along with immediately following the initial disposition of the first 3 parents on February 28th. So we'll set that for also 10 a.m., understanding that we'll take the initial disposition of the 3 parents before his adjudication trial on February 28th. And remove the child from his care, as well as acknowledge that the child is also removed from Ms. Witten for the reasons expressed in the petition. Mr. Christopher Carter's children are the other 2 that are currently with Ms. Rebecca Witten, and the court is authorizing removal for the reasons visited on record and in the petition as acknowledged, which create a substantial risk of harm to their care and custody. The risk associated with allowing Mr. Carter to take them is, of course, the break in their relationship, as well as the other issues named in the petition around housing, income, and his ability to support them currently. So we'll look for progress from all of the parents and initial referrals and services as they may take them up from the department on any offers for that before we come back and look at the case again February 28th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Have I addressed everything, Ms. Thomas?
I believe so, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Stein?
Yes, thank you.
Should my client anticipate the agency will be there very shortly to pick up the children?
I would assume so.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Proceed.
No, yeah, thank you.
Mr. Hill?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you February 28th at 10 a.m.